Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to paint a picture of the incredible progress of an industry that is making my district in western Pennsylvania a better place to work and live. For many years, the coal industry has been an important part of the economy in Pennsylvania. Historic mining activity unfortunately left behind large piles of coal refuse. These piles consist of lower quality coal mixed with rock and dirt. For a long time, we did not have the technology to use this material, so it accumulated in large piles in cities and towns close to schools and neighborhoods and in fields across the region. This has led to a number of environmental problems. Vegetation and wildlife have been harmed. The air has been polluted, and acid mine drainage has impaired nearby rivers and streams. And problems compound when these piles catch fire. The cost to clean up all of this is astronomical. Pennsylvania's environmental regulator estimates that fixing abandoned mine lands could take over $16 billion, $2 billion of which would be needed for the coal refuse piles alone. We needed an innovation solution to this tough challenge. A common-sense compromise was necessary to get the job done and protect the environment. That's where the coal refuse to energy industry comes in. Using advanced technology, they've been able to use this previously unusable fuel to generate electricity. This activity powers remediation efforts that have so far been successful in removing over 200 million tons of coal refuse and repairing formerly polluted sites. I visited the Nantiglow waste coal site in my district earlier this week and witnessed the massive transformation this area has undergone. And in this picture, you can see an example of the progress that's been made across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In the foreground, the remnants of a coal refuse pile that's up to 40 feet deep. In the distance, you can see what used to be a coal refuse pile that's almost completely restored. A little bit of work remains, but this hillside has been restored, and soon it'll be covered with trees and wildlife, and this is an example of the environmental progress that's being made. The Nantiglow site is just one of many examples of the good work being done by the coal refuse energy industry in Pennsylvania and in historic coal sites across the country. We can all agree that we want to be good stewards of our natural resources and to use them as efficiently as possible. We also want to ensure that regulations do not hamper job creation, the economy, and opportunity for our families. Unfortunately, expanding EPA regulations threaten to bring much of the waste coal industry's activity to a halt. That would leave billions of dollars of vital cleanup unfinished and hurt jobs and Pennsylvania's energy security. A lot of people in Washington like to offer up a false choice between protecting the environment and economic opportunity. The success of the coal refuse industry shows that that does not have to be the case. This week, I'm introducing a common-sense approach to keep these facilities open while holding them to tough standards. We are calling this bill the Satisfying Energy Needs and Saving the Environment Act, or SENSE Act for short. The bill addresses problems arising from two of the EPA's more expansive rules, the Mercury and Air Toxin Standards and the Cross Pollution Rule, known as CSAPR. Under CSAPR, which relies on allocations to limit emissions, we are requesting that the status quo remains in place with regards to sulfur dioxide emissions for bituminous coal refuse-fired power generators. Due to the nature of the coal refuse, these facilities would be unable to comply with a new standard that is expected in 2017. Under the Mercury and Air Toxin Standards rule, we are proposing to hold the industry to alternative limits for hydrogen chloride or sulfur dioxide emissions. Consistent with this legislation, Senators Toomey and Casey recently offered an amendment in the Senate exempting these plants from both the MATS and CSAPR requirements. While this proposal was supported by a bipartisan majority of senators, it failed to achieve the supermajority required to pass. This shouldn't be a controversial or partisan issue. We want to hold this industry to high standards, but standards that they can actually achieve. My bill will help keep the coal refuse industry in business so that the local community, economy, and environment will continue to reap the benefits. The fact that this industry performs such a vital environmental function means that we owe it to our communities to recognize these circumstances and do everything we can to allow them to keep up the good work. Dennis Simmers, an engineer with Culver Power Project in Cambria Township and a longtime resident of the area, told me why he hopes my legislation is signed into law and the waste coal industry can go forward. It's personal, he said. 3 generations of my family lived in Nantiglow. Unfortunately, they died without ever seeing this environmental catastrophe corrected. There is a real shot now that I will see that in my lifetime. With my legislation, I am working to ensure his vision becomes a reality. I thank the Speaker, and I